we're going to have a conversation. I'm told that we need to speak very close to the microphone for it to work clearly. And we can see that there's disagreements, and there's no surprise that there's disagreements. And I'm asking both ministers not to speak about the past, because both ministers, I think, made some very clear statements of the need to keep and build on cooperation. So I'm asking that we speak about the future. Can we have the screen, please, on the principles? At Friends of the Earth Middle East, who work in Israeli, Palestinian and Judean communities, we know that the situation is a crisis situation. When I go to our Palestinian office in Bethlehem, there is no water. In the wintertime, once every 2 weeks. In the summertime, once a month. We have to go in the hotel to go to the bathroom because there is no water to flush the toilet. We also know in the Israeli communities that we work in that Israeli residents suffer from raw sewage flowing down almost every wadi that crosses the green line. It leaves a stench. It leaves pollution of an already scarce water shared by both peoples. It's for this reason that Friends of the Earth Middle East believes that the current water arrangement, the interim accord, which was supposed to last for only 4 years, is failing both peoples. The facts are that both peoples are not getting what they need. Palestinians are not getting enough water. Israelis and Palestinians are suffering from the pollution of shared water resources, making that scarce water resource even scarcer. And we're not alone in our thinking that the current arrangement doesn't work. Minister Attilli mentioned that the World Bank in 2009 produced a report which recommends reform the way in which the JWC, the Joint Water Committee and the Civil Administration address water issue. So it's not just from Friends of the Earth, it's coming from a very highly respected body, the World Bank. And in that framework, we came out with our own proposal. A proposal that, as we've heard from Shaddad Attilli, also from the Minister, also the Palestinians don't, with open arms, welcome. But I think that we've placed on the discussion the need to move forward and not just to look backwards. Can I have on the screen? It's a shkufiyah. Shkufit. About the principles. And at Friends of the Middle East, we identified 5 principles that a water accord should deal with. The first one is a principle of equity that both ministers have spoken to. In the Israeli context, equity is well identified as basic sustainability. So has the minister, the Palestinian minister has also spoken to. Economic efficiency goes to the core also of sustainable water management. Ecological sustainability, so that we don't have raw sewage flowing in our rivers. Demand management, a key priority issue. And that any agreement that we move forward on must be implementable in practice, that it's not left as something in theory. These are the 5 principles that we've developed, and I'd like the ministers to refer to. My first question is to Minister Erdan from Israel. The question is, can the issue of water and pollution be championed to the Prime Minister, to the Israeli cabinet, to change the current water regime, to change the nature of the current agreement to an agreement that does suit the 5 principles that are now up on the screen. And I'd welcome also a reference to how you see how these principles could operate.
Gidon, you did now what every journalist in Israel does. You know, you have your assumption that it's not equitable, that we need to change how we manage the water, and now I need to answer to your assumption that is based on a reality which I do not agree that exists. And and it's very hard for me not to respond and not to say anything about the past or what's happening today. Because the facts are more important than everything before we start to negotiate how to improve the situation. I cannot ignore the facts. And talking about Israel, that Israel has a lot of water, and you ignore the fact that we invested a lot of money in desalination, in treating our sewage, in recycling our sewage, with treating our leakage, the water loss from our pipes. And that is, some of it doesn't mean that we need cooperation or to do anything. If in Israel you have 11% water loss from the pipes, and the Palestinian Authority has 33% water loss, which is extremely high. So first of all, if you want to demand more water for Israel, you need to prove that you are treating the water as something that is very important, and you try to use them in an efficient, the most efficient way, which I do not feel that this is the situation in the Palestinian Authority. You are talking about a disaster? We don't think that it's a disaster. I don't know about what Dr. Attilli said about the syndrome, and of course we don't want babies to be sick, but to talk about Israel as the responsible for the situation in Gaza? Do you want us back in Gaza? I'm not sure that you want us back in Gaza. We left Gaza, as I remember, a few years ago. What happened since then? What happened? Did we voted for Hamas? Did we initiated the missiles from the Gaza? I'm telling you loud and clear, and I'm saying it everywhere. We support every donation and every support to build a new desalination plant in Gaza. We will do everything we can in order to cooperate and to promote the construction of a new desalination plant in Gaza, because we know the situation in Gaza is severe. But you cannot say that the situation in Judea and Samaria is the worst around the world. 95% of the Palestinian village are connected to running water. Compare it to Europe. You know, I hosted the Romanian Minister of Environment. One-third of the Romanian population are not connected even to running water. So I'm going to finish. I think that to argue about that is why I said that to talk about water rights won't lead to a solution. You know, each side see the reality from his side. You know, it's very hard to decide about who has more rights for more water, because we believe that we are doing everything to increase the amount of water. I think that the solution should be based on water needs. Water needs. We know that the Palestinian needs more and more water. We want to help them with our expertise, with our knowledge, and also with passing the Israeli bureaucracy. You know, he described, Shaddad described what they need in order to promote a new sewage treatment plant in the West Bank. What do you think that we need to do in Israel when we want to build it? We also need to get the signature from that guy or the other guy if we want to pass it together. So we need to cooperate. We need to meet. Shaddad should tell me whether the IDF stopped them from doing this and that, and I can call the general who's in charge and demand answers. But that never happens because they boycott the relationship. Even in Paris, when I asked him to meet me, so he said, no, you participated in the inauguration of new settlement, yes, in East Jerusalem, so I can't meet you. That is not the way to promote cooperation. That is to punish both of us.
Okay. I want to keep our focus on the problems of the current system. And you've come and said that the current water arrangement as run by the JWC, you don't see real problems. But we're talking.
I didn't say that there are no problems.
Okay, so
I don't know. I was never there.
Okay.
No one invited me. No one complained about not fulfilling the JWC decisions. I tried to find out. You know what? I'll say something that I never said. I asked one of the important ambassadors in Israel to be a mediator about those water issues, and I hope that his country will agree to be a mediator about it, because I feel that it's very hard to meet and it's very hard to talk about how to solve it together.
Well, one of the key problems from an equity perspective of the current Joint Water Committee is that the jurisdiction of the Joint Water Committee is only on the Palestinian side. It's only on the shared waters that are in the West Bank. Israel can pump as much water as it wants from the Israeli side of the shared groundwater, the mountain aquifer, which has direct implications on no more water in springs, in Palestinian villages, in water supply for Palestinian pumping stations. Yet the water is shared. Yet the Palestinians, when they want to do a project, have to have Israeli permission. A new arrangement, if it's to be equitable, surely has to look at the shared water and the management of the shared water from both sides, irrespective of the jurisdiction of who sits on both sides. It's a major fault of the current JWC. I want to bring the table back.
I didn't say that every decision and every article is holy, that nothing can be changed. But in order to change it, and I will repeat it, we need to talk. We need also to get, they should get answers from us, but we should get answers from them also. When you demand us to, I don't know, to help them promote water extractions more than what they have today, so they also need to give answers to the JWC. What do they do in order to not that the water loss will be smaller? What do they do in order to put a price, for example, on water, that it will be efficient, the use of water? As I know right now, maybe I'm mistaken, it's not like that in the agricultural sector in the Palestinian Authority. Water has no price.
So what is
very cheap?
What is very clear is that the current arrangement of the
Israeli government
JWC
almost fell down because of water prices. That is because we treat water as something is very, very important for our future.
It's difficult to raise the price of water, but very important to do so. But what's very clear is that the current arrangement of the JWC is failing because it's not allowing the dialogue that you're talking about that needs to take place. And therefore we hope that you will champion, that you will find the way to champion this issue with the Prime Minister, with the Cabinet of Israel, so that a new dialogue and in the end a new agreement, because in our opinion water cannot wait. I want to turn to Minister Attilli and also speak to the issue as to whether Minister Attilli, as the Water Minister, would be willing to champion a new water accord with the Palestinian President, with the PLO, and in that water accord, how do you see the vision of the principles that are mentioned of equity and so on and so on?
Before answering your question, Minister Erdan, the problem of the relation between us and you, it's not the issue when the IDF stopped me that I have to come and take authorization from you. This is the problem. This is the occupier mentality. And your occupation first, because the relation between you and me should be on the equal partnership. It's not a relation between an occupied and an occupier. This is one thing. Second, you said we do have limited resources in Israel. No, sir. We do share these resources with you. When I said I'm coming from 1 hour half from Ramallah, just to tell you that I'm just living here, where I do have share in the Jordan River Basin, in the groundwater aquifers, in the coastal aquifer, and the issue when we said international law, because there is a criteria about equitable, reasonable, and joint management.
To the future.
Okay. Now, is the GWC failed? First question, yes, completely failed. Completely failed. Now your questions, can we live with these factors? Yes, we live with these factors. But your question is sensitive, Gidon. Are you questioning changing the GWC mechanism? Yes, I would love to change it tomorrow. Or making an agreement, a water agreement based on this, then I tell you what I just said. This is a managerial solution that is starting from status quo. If we don't go from reallocation, addressing right and need, and fair. By addressing rights, you're addressing also your water rights. You don't hear the Palestinian blaming you that you are taking our share. No, we're addressing Palestinian and Israeli right, and we're working on both population need, and we're going developing desalination and everything. Now, we are the Palestinian people who would love to have their state and their freedom. So the issue is not living in interim arrangement. Oslo agreement is called Oslo interim arrangement. Madam, you don't love to live in a state where you are occupied. You are a human being. You have to be living in liberty and freedom. Please feel the Palestinian when they are speaking about their freedom. So, Gidon, our friend, our Israeli close friend, is the issue of interim agreement or a permanent, sustainable, like the environmental that you are seeking, sustainable, lasting agreement. Then you need a fair and robust criteria to resolve the conflict, because we are in a conflict. Whether we say yes or no, we are in a conflict, but we have to work resolving this conflict. Yes, there is different position, and it's a drama, and maybe people losing position. We don't care if we do care about the people that we have to serve. This is what we have to promote. These are beautiful, but this is just to resolve a water conflict, which is part of a political conflict. This is our question to you, Gidon.
Okay, so we are over time, and originally I planned to allow for questions, but I'm being text message that we are 15 minutes over time and we have to end. The summary that I'd like to make is that it's very, very clear that... Oh, of course. The summary that I'd like to make is it's very clear, is that we have heard from both ministers a willingness, yes, this is wonderful, please. Sharing water. There is no other means of bringing the message of a better future for both Israelis and Palestinians than to bring water to every Palestinian home, every Israeli home, to stop raw sewage flowing in every wadi and stream in Palestine and in Israel. There is no stronger message, and that's why we appeal, and I think everyone in this room, like the leadership that you've shown, Minister Attilli, in coming here to Ashdod in Israel, like the leadership that you've shown in arguably being the best environment minister that Israel has yet seen, to continue that leadership in solving, for goodness sake, the water problem that every single one of us are suffering from, and every one of our grandchildren will suffer from even more if that leadership does not bring fruit. I'll ask you to join me in thanking the two ministers for being so open, for being here, and for being committed to the future of all of us together. Shukran, toda raba. Thank you very much.
קהל נכבד, אנו יוצאים להפסקה קצרה.